In 2026, the difference between where you are and where you want to be will not be talent, luck, or opportunity. It will be how you used 1 hour of your day. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a simple truth. Your life does not change because of luck. Your life changes because of leverage. And the greatest leverage you have is not money, not talent, not connections. It's time, specifically 1 hour a day. See, time is democratic. Everyone gets 24 hours, but outcomes are not democratic. Why? Because how you use your time determines how your life looks. 1 hour a day is only 4% of your time, yet that 4% can completely redesign the other 96%. Why? Because success is not built in moments of convenience. It's built in moments of intention. Most people waste 1 hour a day and call it relaxing. High performers invest 1 hour a day and call it building. Same hour, different future. Let me say this clearly. Small actions done daily don't create small results. They create exponential results. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel powerful until you've read 3,650 pages in a year. Learning one skill an hour a day doesn't feel impressive until you become irreplaceable. Working on your health 1 hour a day doesn't seem urgent until you avoid years of regret. Consistency compounds, discipline multiplies, focus transforms. But here's the catch. Not all hours are created equal. Scrolling is an hour, studying is an hour, complaining is an hour, creating is an hour. Same clock, different value. In 2026, the question will not be, did you work hard? The question will be, did you work on the right things? High value people spend time on high value activities. They build skills that scale. They improve areas that compound. They plant seeds. Others are too impatient to water. And here's the real shift. Your habits are not about what you get. They're about who you become. When you dedicate 1 hour a day to growth, you're not just changing your schedule. You're changing your identity. You stop seeing yourself as trying. You start seeing yourself as becoming. And once your identity changes, your behavior follows, your income follows, your confidence follows, your life follows. Now, let's be honest. Most people don't fail because they can't succeed. They fail because they want comfort now instead of freedom later. Delayed gratification is not punishment, it's strategy. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. 1 hour a day is the price. A transformed life is the reward. So here we are, standing at the door of 2026. This year will not belong to the loudest, the fastest, or the luckiest. 2026 will belong to the intentional, to the people who wake up and say, I may not control everything, but I control this hour. If you can control 1 hour, you can control 1 day. If you control your days, you control your years. And if you control your years, you control your life. So decide today, protect your hour, invest your hour, honor your hour, because 1 hour a day doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your destiny. Time is neutral. It has no bias, no emotion, no opinion about who you are or where you are going. Time does not reward effort, nor does it punish laziness. It simply moves forward, second by second, treating everyone exactly the same, whether you are disciplined or distracted, focused or confused, ambitious or comfortable. Time keeps going. That neutrality is what makes time so powerful and so dangerous, because while time itself is neutral, habits are not. Habits quietly decide whether time becomes an asset or a liability in your life. Every day, time shows up empty. It carries no meaning until you assign one through your actions. What gives time direction is habit. Habits are the invisible force that tells time where to go and what to build. When someone says, I don't know where my time went, what they are really saying is, my habits spent it without my permission. Time never disappears. It is always invested somewhere. The question is not if time will be used, but how it will be used. And habits answer that question automatically. Habits are powerful because they operate without negotiation. You don't debate with your habits every morning, you obey them. If your habit is to reach for your phone, you do it without thinking. If your habit is to avoid discomfort, you choose ease without reflection. Over time, these small, repeated behaviors begin to shape outcomes that feel big and unavoidable. That's why two people can have the same amount of time and end up in completely different places. Time didn't choose their destination. Their habits did. Neutral time magnifies whatever habits you attach to it. If your habits are aligned with growth, time becomes a multiplier. Skills sharpen, confidence builds, opportunities expand. But if your habits are aligned with comfort, distraction, or procrastination, time doesn't slow down to save you. It accelerates the consequences. Comfort today quietly becomes limitation tomorrow. What feels harmless in the moment compounds into regret over years. The most dangerous habits are not destructive ones, they are unintentional ones. Habits formed by default rather than designed slowly pull life off course. When you don't decide how to use your time, your environment decides for you. Notifications decide, entertainment decides, other people's priorities decide. Time stays neutral, but your habits become reactive instead of intentional, and reactivity always costs more in the long run. The good news is this: because time is neutral, it can be redeemed at any moment. You don't need more time, you need better habits. One intentional habit can redirect years of your future. One disciplined hour repeated daily can outproduce talent without structure. This is why transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with systems. Motivation is emotional. Habits are structural. And structure always outlasts emotion. When you change your habits, you don't fight time, you recruit it. Time begins working for you instead of against you. Every repetition strengthens the direction you've chosen. Every day becomes a vote for the future you want rather than the future you drift into. Time doesn't care which future you pick, but your life will reflect the choice your habits make. In the end, time will tell the truth about your habits. It will reveal what you prioritized, what you avoided, and what you practiced consistently. Time will never lie about effort repeated or effort neglected. That's why mastery, success, and fulfillment always look like sudden breakthroughs from the outside, but feel like inevitable results from the inside. Time stayed neutral the whole way. Habits did all the deciding. Small daily actions are easy to dismiss because they rarely feel powerful in the moment. They don't create instant applause, dramatic breakthroughs, or overnight transformation. In fact, most small actions feel almost insignificant when viewed in isolation. That is precisely why they work. Their power is not in how they feel today, but in how they compound over time. Exponential results are not the product of massive effort done once. They are the result of modest effort done consistently. Human nature is wired to overvalue what is immediate and undervalue what is cumulative. We want visible progress quickly, and when we don't see it, we assume nothing is happening. But growth does not announce itself early. It builds quietly beneath the surface, strengthening foundations before producing visible outcomes. Just like interest in an investment account, the early stages appear slow and unimpressive. Then momentum takes over, and results accelerate in ways that seem disproportionate to the effort invested. A single workout doesn't transform your body. A single page read doesn't make you knowledgeable. A single conversation doesn't build a network. But repetition turns these small actions into identity-shaping forces. Over time, what you do daily becomes what you do naturally. What you do naturally becomes who you are. And who you become determines the level of results you can sustain. Exponential growth is not magic. It is alignment between daily behavior and long-term direction. Small daily actions also remove the psychological resistance that stops most people from starting. Large goals feel intimidating, heavy, and overwhelming. Small actions feel manageable. They don't require motivation, they require commitment. Anyone can show up for 10 minutes, anyone can improve 1%. The mistake is assuming that because an action is small, its impact will be small. In reality, small actions reduce friction, and reduced friction increases consistency. Consistency is the real engine of transformation. What makes these actions exponential is time. Time multiplies whatever you repeatedly feed it. When you consistently practice a skill, time sharpens it. When you consistently invest in your health, time strengthens it. When you consistently improve your thinking, time expands your perspective. But the opposite is also true. Neglect compounds just as powerfully as effort. Small, daily avoidance quietly turns into missed opportunities, stalled potential, and outcomes that feel unfair but are actually predictable. Exponential results often look sudden to observers because they don't see the accumulation phase. They only see the moment when effort crosses the threshold where results become visible. This creates the illusion of overnight success, when in reality the success was being constructed invisibly through daily discipline. Every repetition was a deposit. Every small action was a vote. And when enough votes were cast, the outcome became unavoidable. The beauty of small daily actions is that they put transformation within reach of anyone willing to be patient. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need extraordinary talent. You need a standard you're willing to uphold when no one is watching. Progress that feels slow is still progress. Momentum doesn't ask how you feel. It responds to what you do repeatedly. In the long run, your life will not be shaped by what you do occasionally, but by what you do consistently. Small daily actions may not change your life today, but given enough time, they make it impossible for your life to stay the same. Exponential results are not the reward for intensity. They are the reward for consistency applied long enough for time to do its work. Focus on high-value activities because not everything that consumes your time deserves your attention. Activity alone does not create progress, alignment does. Many people stay busy yet remain stuck because they confuse movement with momentum. High-value activities are the few actions that produce disproportionate results. The actions that move the needle instead of just filling the calendar. When you understand this, productivity stops being about doing more and starts being about doing what matters most. Time is limited, but energy and attention are even more scarce. Every task you say yes to quietly says no to something else. High-value activities are those that create growth beyond the moment they are performed. They build skills, generate opportunities, deepen relationships, or increase leverage. Low-value activities may feel productive, but once they're done, nothing meaningful remains. The difference is not effort, it's return on investment. Most people spend their days reacting rather than creating. The why answer messages, attend meetings, scroll through information, and handle problems as they arise. Reaction feels necessary, but it rarely builds the future. High-value activities are proactive by nature. They require thought, focus, and often discomfort. That's why they are avoided. Planning, learning, creating, and improving don't always feel urgent, but they are always important. The future is built in the space where urgency is absent, but intention is present. High-value activities often look simple from the outside, yet they demand discipline. Writing for an hour, practicing a skill, designing a system, or developing a strategy doesn't provide instant feedback or validation. There is no immediate reward, only delayed impact. But that delayed impact is what creates freedom later. People who prioritize high-value activities early gain options. People who delay them pay with limitation. Another reason high-value activities are ignored is because they don't always feel comfortable. Growth lives outside routine. Improving your thinking challenges old beliefs. Building a skill exposes inexperience. Creating something meaningful invites judgment. Low-value activities protect comfort because they keep you busy without stretching you. High-value activities demand focus and presence, which is why distractions feel so tempting when it's time to do them. The true cost of ignoring high-value activities is not measured in hours, but in lost potential. When you repeatedly choose what is easy over what is impactful, you train yourself to stay small. Over time, this shapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who reacts rather than leads, consumes rather than creates. Focusing on high-value activities reverses that pattern. It reinforces the identity of someone who builds, decides, and directs their life intentionally. High-value activities also simplify life. When you consistently invest time in the right areas, many problems solve themselves. Skills reduce stress. Preparation prevents chaos. Clarity eliminates unnecessary effort. Instead of juggling endless tasks, you begin to operate from priorities. This creates confidence, not because life becomes easier, but because you become more capable. In the end, success is less about how hard you work and more about what you work on. Your future will be shaped by the small number of high-value activities you choose to protect daily. When focus is applied to what truly matters, progress becomes inevitable. You stop trading time for motion and start investing it for results that compound long after the work is done. Identity always comes before outcome, even though most people try to reverse the order. They chase results first, believing that success will change who they are, how they think, and how they feel. But lasting transformation works in the opposite direction. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall or rise to the level of your identity. Outcomes are not random events, they are reflections of the person you consistently practice being. Every action you take is cast as a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. When you act in alignment with a certain identity, results eventually follow. When your actions conflict with your identity, results remain inconsistent. This is why temporary motivation can produce short bursts of progress but rarely creates lasting change. Motivation fades, identity endures. What you believe about yourself quietly governs what you attempt, tolerate, and repeat. People often say they want better results, but what they really want is permission to stay the same while expecting different outcomes. Identity doesn't allow that. If you see yourself as someone who quits when things get difficult, effort will always break down der Pressure. If you see yourself as someone who grows through discomfort, discipline becomes natural. The difference is not willpower, it is self-perception. You act in harmony with who you believe you are. Identity shapes decisions long before results appear. It determines what you say yes to, what you say no to, and what you ignore altogether. A person who identifies as disciplined does not debate whether to show up. They show up because that is who they are. A person who identifies as a learner looks for lessons even in failure. Over time, these identity-driven behaviors compound into outcomes that look impressive but feel inevitable to the person who lives them. This is why copying strategies without adopting identity rarely works. You can mimic habits, routines, and tactics, but if your identity remains unchanged, inconsistency will eventually surface. You will revert to familiar behavior because identity always seeks alignment. True change requires a shift from "I am trying to do this" to "this is who I am becoming." Once that shift happens, behavior stops feeling forced and starts feeling aligned. Identity is built through repetition, not affirmation alone. You don't become confident by saying you are confident. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself. Each small act of integrity strengthens identity. Each time you do what you said you would do, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable, capable, and disciplined. Over time, this internal trust becomes the foundation for larger outcomes. Focusing on identity also removes anxiety about timing. When you commit to becoming the right person, you stop obsessing over when results will show up. You understand that outcomes are a lagging indicator of identity. Just like a seed planted in the ground, growth happens before it becomes visible. The work is happening even when nothing seems to be changing on the surface. In the end, identity is the root and outcomes are the fruit. You cannot demand fruit from a tree without first cultivating the root system. When you focus on becoming instead of achieving, results arrive as a byproduct rather than a struggle. Change who you are being daily, and outcomes will eventually have no choice but to follow. Delayed gratification is often misunderstood because it feels like taking the long way around, when in reality it is the most direct path to lasting success. Most people believe the shortcut is finding something easier, faster, or more comfortable. But comfort only postpones the cost. It never removes it. Delayed gratification works because it flips the order of reward and effort. It asks you to pay the price now so you don't pay a much higher one later. Human instinct is wired for immediate pleasure. We are drawn to what feels good now, even when it quietly works against us. This is why distractions are more tempting than discipline, and convenience feels more attractive than consistency. Delayed gratification requires the ability to say no to what you want in the moment so you can say yes to what you want most. That ability separates people who build momentum from those who live in cycles of starting and stopping. The reason delayed gratification feels difficult is because the rewards are invisible at first. Effort shows up immediately, but results take time. You work when no one is watching. You prepare without applause. You invest energy without instant feedback. This creates the illusion that nothing is happening when in fact the most important progress is occurring beneath the surface. Discipline is building capacity, patience is building resilience, and repetition is building mastery. Delayed gratification also creates leverage. When you consistently choose growth over comfort, you accumulate advantages that compound. Skills deepen, judgment improves, and opportunities expand. Over time, this leverage reduces the effort required to produce results. What once felt hard becomes natural. What once demanded discipline becomes identity. This is why delayed gratification is actually faster in the long run. It removes the need to start over repeatedly. Short-term thinking traps people in reaction. They chase quick wins, temporary motivation, and instant validation. These rewards fade quickly and require constant renewal. Delayed gratification builds something more durable, internal strength. When you practice choosing long-term benefit over short-term pleasure, you train yourself to withstand discomfort without quitting. That ability alone creates separation because most people retreat the moment progress feels slow. There is also a hidden confidence that comes from delayed gratification. Every time you resist an impulse and follow through on a commitment, you strengthen trust in yourself. Self-trust is a powerful asset. It reduces UBT, increases decisiveness, and builds momentum. You stop negotiating with yourself because you know you will do what you said you would do. That consistency becomes a quiet source of confidence that no external validation can replace. Delayed gratification does not mean denying joy. It means sequencing it. You're not saying no forever. You're saying no for now. And by doing so, you increase the quality and sustainability of future rewards. The freedom that comes from discipline is far greater than the pleasure that comes from indulgence. One builds options, the other creates dependency. In the end, delayed gratification feels like sacrifice only at the beginning. Later, it feels like strategy. What once required restraint eventually produces ease. That is why it is the shortcut. It reduces wasted effort, eliminates repeated failure, and accelerates progress by aligning your actions with your long-term vision. Those who understand this don't rush the process. They trust it, knowing that time will reward the discipline they practiced when it mattered most. 2026 will not reward those who drift, react, or hope for better circumstances. It will belong to the intentional, the people who decide in advance who they want to become and what they are willing to prioritize to get there. Intention is the difference between letting life happen and deliberately shaping it. When direction is clear, effort becomes powerful. When direction is absent, even hard work produces limited results. Intentional people do not wait for motivation. They operate from decision. They understand that clarity creates momentum. Instead of waking up and asking, what do I feel like doing today? They ask, what does my future require of me today? That shift changes everything. It turns time into a tool instead of a trap and transforms ordinary days into building blocks for long-term success. In a world overflowing with information, distraction, and noise, intention acts as a filter. It determines what deserves attention and what must be ignored. Without intention, everything feels urgent and nothing feels important. With intention, priorities become obvious. Energy is no longer scattered across endless options, but concentrated on what actually moves life forward. This focus creates progress that looks calm on the outside, but is decisive on the inside. 2026 will amplify this difference. The pace of change will continue to increase, and those without a clear direction will feel overwhelmed, busy, and frustrated. Intentional people, however, will experience the same environment differently. They will move with purpose, adapt with confidence, and make choices aligned with their values rather than their impulses. They won't try to do everything. They will commit to doing the right things consistently. Intentionality also requires ownership. It means accepting that outcomes are rarely accidental. Where you end up is strongly connected to what you repeatedly choose. Intentional people don't outsource responsibility to circumstances, luck, or other people. They take control of the few things they can control, their habits, their focus, their standards, and their use of time. That ownership creates power because responsibility is the gateway to change. Another defining trait of intentional people is patience. They are not in a hurry to impress, but they are deeply committed to progress. They understand that meaningful results take time. and they're willing to stay consistent long enough for effort to compound. While others quit because results are slow, the intentional stay because their direction is clear. They measure success by alignment, not applause. Intentionality also brings resilience. When challenges arise, and they always do, intentional people don't lose direction. They adjust strategy without abandoning purpose. Obstacles become feedback rather than failure. This ability to stay anchored while adapting is what allows them to grow stronger under pressure instead of breaking down. By the end of 2026, the gap will be visible. Some will wonder where the year went, feeling busy but unchanged. Others will look back and see clear evidence of growth, new skills, stronger habits, better judgment, and expanded opportunities. The difference won't be intelligence, talent, or luck. It will be intention. 2026 belongs to the intentional because intention creates clarity, clarity drives consistency, and consistency produces results. Those who decide deliberately, act consistently, and stay aligned with their long-term vision will not just experience change, they will create it. As we step into 2026, remember this: your future will not be shaped by dramatic moments or perfect conditions, but by the quiet decisions you make every day. Time will remain neutral. Circumstances will remain unpredictable. The difference will be you. One intentional hour repeated daily has the power to reshape your habits, redefine your identity, and redirect your life. Not because it is easy, but because it is consistent. Not because it is exciting, but because it is aligned. You don't need to change everything at once. You only need to change what you do consistently. Protect that 1 hour. Invest it in growth, discipline, and purpose. Let it become the proof of who you are becoming. Because when habits are intentional, small actions compound, focus sharpens, and delayed gratification pays its reward. And when the year ends, you won't be asking where the time went. You'll know exactly where it went because it built the life you decided to create.